Okay, today's tune is a lovely version of The Lord's My Shepherd, written by Stuart Townend. He's written loads of fantastic worship songs, and he also does a very different version of his own tune, which you might want to check out on Apple Music or Spotify. It's the same tune but with different chords, very tasteful, but that's not this one. This is a pretty straightforward kind of hymn, but it's really lovely. The music for this is normally in E flat major. I've moved it to D major because I find it a bit easier to read the two sharps rather than the three flats. If you have an electronic keyboard and a transpose function on that keyboard, if you transpose it up one semitone, that'll take it into E flat if you play it in this key of D major. The metronome setting is 80 crotchets per minute. I've actually slowed it down to this. 68 crotchets per minute. I find that's a much better way of playing it. I tend to make less mistakes. I'll be very honest here and say that I took a long while to practice this before I did this lesson. I'm not a natural pianist. The guitar is my instrument, so the piano is definitely a second instrument for me, but I love playing it. I love playing this tune, so I've worked very hard practicing this tune. This is a very straightforward bit of piano playing. There's no kind of weird stuff in it, but what I have brought to the table here is the fingering. Now, most of the music books that have this song don't show any fingering, and the fingering is key to this. I've printed this out 7 times so far, because every time I print it out and put it on my music stand and play it, I find a better way of doing the fingering. So I think I've finally nailed it. The idea here is that if you use my fingering, you'll always have the right finger available for the next bar. You'll see what I mean when I get into it. The right hand is pretty much all the way through what we call music in 2 lines. You've got notes that are part of the tune, notes that are fillers. So notes that are part of the tune have the fingering on top, and notes that are kind of filler notes where there's no word, they've got the fingering underneath. And the 2 lines in the treble clef add up to 4/4 each. So it's mathematically correct. I'll make all that a bit clearer as I go on. So the first bar is what we call bar 0, which is a pickup bar. So we play. So that's our first bar. So you can see I've got a minim rest and then a quaver rest and then an actual quaver and 2 more quavers. Very often with a pickup bar we don't put the rests in before the notes, but I just want you to see how the timing worked. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. So you come in on and 4 and. Don't forget all your F's and all your C's are sharp in this tune because it's in the key of D major. So I'm using the thumb on the D, both of those Ds, and the middle finger, finger 3, on the F sharp. Remember, on the piano, the thumb is 1, the index finger is 2, middle finger is 3, ring finger is 4, and the little finger is 5. So that's our pickup bar, nothing in the left hand there, and then we're into bar number 1, which is on the next stave. You can see a thick line, thin line, and 2 dots there, because that's your repeat point. You're going to repeat from this point when you get to the end of page 3. So in this bar number 1, you're going to play the F sharp again that you played at the end of the previous bar, but then you're going to immediately move down to the F sharp, which is an octave below that, with your thumb. I don't know about you, but I couldn't have told you that was an F sharp without figuring it out. But this F sharp is on the 3rd ledge line underneath the stave, and it's played with the thumb. The number 1 is underneath because this is not a word here, it's a filler note. Come up to the A, which is on the 2nd ledge line underneath the stave with finger 2, and then we come up to the D with finger 4 because we're going to need finger 5 for the E that's going to come next. So you're going to run up like that. So the first half of this bar is the F sharp, finger 3, and then you're going to jump straight down to the F sharp below it and run up. So you've got. Now to make that happen, you're going to need to press your sustain pedal, obviously. And as you play that top F sharp at the beginning of the bar, the bass note is D. This is not a piano, it's a keyboard, electronic keyboard. So on this instrument with its limited 61 note range, this D is nearly at the bottom with the octave set at 0. And it's finger 5, little finger, and it's a minim, so 2 beats. And in the second half of the bar, you're going to come up to the A, immediately above that with your thumb, So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, with the right hand, coming back to the right hand, as you play the E that I mentioned with the little finger, you're going to add a G and an A underneath. It's kind of an A7 chord as you play that A bass. And you're going to hang on to the G and the A, they're minims. And then while they're still ringing, you're going to come down to the note D with your fourth finger. It's going to sound and look like this. And with the left hand, let's go from the beginning. And that's a nice start, isn't it? So shepherd, I'll not, that's obviously the tune. And the other notes are fillers, you see? I'm sure you get the idea. Now, moving into bar number 2, you're going to play the D again, but this time you're going to move your little finger down to it, finger 5, and you're going to do this. So the note D is for the word want, and then you've got some fillers, that F sharp, the A and the F sharp again, back to the D. So you have D, F sharp, A, F sharp, D. Notice that D there, as it was in the middle of the previous bar, it's shared between the two voices. It's part of the upper voice and part of the lower voice, because it has to be mathematically correct. So in this bar, for instance, the upper voice, you've got a minim, that D, okay, and then the next note in that upper voice is the D that's shared with the lower voice, where it's finger 5 again. That's a quaver, and then you've got 3 more quavers. So you've got minim and 4 quavers, which adds up to 4 beats, 4/4. The lower voice is a quaver rest, a quaver, 2 more quavers, a quaver which is shared with the upper voice, and then a quaver rest and a crotchet rest, which adds up to 4 quarters, 4 beats. So mathematically it's got to be correct for it to work. So you've got a mixture of tune notes and filler notes there. So you've got this D with finger 5, and then with finger 1, and that sends finger 5, the little finger, up to the A there. And the bass note for this second bar is just that D again, but this time it's a semi-breathe. It's played all the way through the bar, and you will need to use your sustain pedal to make this work. Let's play that from the beginning, shall we? I've got a bit of a squeaky sustain pedal, so sorry if you hear that in the video. Let's go to bar 3 now. We're going to repeat that A note with the little finger, and we have this kind of a stretchy thing. So A, like I said, down to the A octave below, finger 1, F sharp, finger 3, bring the thumb up to the D. So that is a D major chord, broken up into its component parts. With the D bass, not the D down here but an octave above, finger 3. You hear the music in 2 lines again. So you've got lie in, those are your tune notes, the others are fillers. And then when we get to the second half of the bar, you've got B, D, A, D. Finger 5, finger 1, finger 4, finger 1. So you've got A, F sharp, D. Bring your little finger up to B, thumb on the D again, A, finger 4, and the thumb on the D again. So put that together. Now, like I said, you have a D with the first part of the bar, and then with the second part of the bar, second half of the bar, you've got a little chord with the left hand, a B and a G. So a little finger is on the B, second line of the bass clef, second line up, and the G is in the top space of the bass clef. So that gives you... So basically you have a D chord to a G chord, okay? Now you're going to bring your little finger all the way down to the E, so a big change of position here, right hand. And then at the end of bar 4, you've got a big change of position again. So we have the E, which is a minim, so it's sustained. And play those next three notes, which are A, D, B, then you have C sharp, finger 3, remember it's C sharp because of the key signature, all F's and C's are sharpened. Then bring your thumb underneath, play that twice, that D, and the little finger is sent back up to the B again. The bass note for bar 4 is A, finger 4, it's in the first space of the bass clef, sustained all the way through. Right, so let's play bars 3 and 4, shall we? Let's play the whole thing from the beginning. Sometimes you'll find that you'll sustain a note for longer than it's written, or maybe the other way around, you won't sustain it for as long as it's written, but as long as it sounds good, who cares? It's great, isn't it? Before we move on to bar 5, notice that the finger I used on the A in the bass in bar 4 was finger 4, because we're going to need finger 5 on the G at the beginning of bar 5. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a moment. The right hand in bar 5, B, D, G, B, so like a G major chord broken up into its component parts. Finger 5, finger 1, finger 3, finger 5. Now the left hand comes up to A with the little finger, and we have two chords. We have D, E and A, like an A sus4. Okay, so finger 1, finger 2, finger 5. Now you're going to need to bring your hand into the keyboard because the thumb's needed on the C sharp, finger 2's on the E, and finger 4 is on the G. So it's like an A sus4 to an A7 with an A bass. So you have pretty nice. Now bar number 6, stay in position. Quite a lot of moving around here. So we have octave A's here, A up there, A down there. Now I suggest finger 4 on this F sharp to set up the position. Third finger on the E, second finger on the D. A little bit stretchy. So you have G tied to another G, add an A to it, finger 2. Use your fourth finger on the D, not your fifth finger because that's going to be needed in the next bar on the E. So quite an interesting bar finger-wise. And the bass line there is the D with the thumb and then the B with the third finger. Now notice from bar 4 onwards the bass line works really well. You've got fourth finger, finger 5, finger 4, finger 1, finger 3. It all falls nicely in position. It's all planned, you see. So let's play bars 5 and 6, shall we? It's really beautiful the way it all slots together, isn't it? Now, on to the next page, page 2, bar number 7, and we have this run up. Now we have G and E, A and F sharp, B and G, all with thumb and little finger, and notice how the A and the F sharp are tied. Almost feels like a triplet, but it isn't, is it? It's dotty quaver to semi-quaver tied to a quaver. And then those last 4 notes, you've got 2 tune notes, 2 filler notes, and I think it's easier to use fourth finger on the F sharp, then the thumb on the A, then the little finger on the E, and the thumb on the G. Kind of interlocks, because you've just gone, your little finger's on the G, so I think the fourth finger works well on the F sharp there. With the sustain pedal. Now, obviously, this sustain pedal thing, you're just going to have to feel where to press it and release it. Need it there, then release and repress for, and And the bass line for bar 7, you've got the E, finger 4. The E is on the first ledge line underneath the bass stave. So it's down here, finger 4, thumb up here on the A, and that sets up your little finger, finger 5, for the D in bar 8, you see? And then in bar 8 we have this. Now this is very similar to bar 2, except that the bass is a minim tied to a quaver, because you want those last 3 notes in the right hand to be without bass. So you have D, F sharp, A, F sharp, D, 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 F sharp, not A as it was in bar 2, but F sharp. So you've got that change of position. So bars 7 and 8. Right, let's play the whole thing from the beginning up to that point. Now, once you've reached that point, you've more or less done it, because it says at the top of page 3, bars 9 to 16 are the same as bars 1 to 8, except that bar 12 has 1 note fewer than bar 4. So if we look at bar number 12, you've got this. In bar 4 you had this. You had he leads me, but in bar 12 you've got for your, so you've got 1 note less in that bar than you had in bar 4. Other than that, the 2 sets of 8 bars are exactly the same. And when you get down to the end of bar 16, you can repeat from bar 1 and play the thing through as many times as there are verses. If you want to finish where it says fine, which is where that D is, which is shared between the 2 voices. So the very last bar will be like this. And just let it sustain like that. But if you want to go on, you'll go. You'll go back to bar 1 and come all the way through again. Now there are a lot of keyboard players and pianists who just get this music and they just play it straight off, wouldn't even worry about the fingering, they'll just find their fingering as they go, which is great, and if you can do that, that's brilliant. Personally, I can't do that. I need to have the fingering set out for myself so I know where I'm going, so everything works, because unless I have that fingering specified, I find that I get myself tied up in knots, which is why I've spent so much time sorting out the fingering. The old adage is, practice it until you can't get it wrong, and that's been the way I've had to work at this piece. It's taken me many days of practice to get it to the point where I can play it through and I just don't go wrong, because I just remember where my fingers go. I'm almost not looking at the music, but I have to have it there to reassure me. I always say that playing a piece of music like this is like going on an unfamiliar journey many times. The more you do the same journey, the easier it gets, because you start seeing signposts and landmarks as you go and think, oh yeah, I remember that bit, oh I know where I'm going now. And it's like that on the music. You get a feel for where your fingers are going to go, it just becomes more and more familiar. So it's a beautiful piece of music, isn't it? It really, really sounds lovely. And obviously you've got to be careful with all the sustained notes. You've got to use your sustain pedal carefully, because obviously if you don't use your sustain pedal, it's going to come out very dry and it's not going to sound great at all. So lots of pressing and releasing in the right places. I really hope that this lesson blesses you and that you have a lot of fun playing this, and maybe you can end up playing it in your church. Thank you very much for watching this video, and you'll see me in my next one.